That way y'all got a place to put it. There's two of them right here.
You take care of this whole man.
I've been working on it. Good job.
Hey guys, how are you? Where you from?
You didn't have to try to find the parking place, did
Our 2016 Homecoming Court. From our Fulton campus, freshman maid Jenna Hall of Hamilton, and her escort is Tanner Dimmitt. Fulton campus freshman maid Alexis Harris of Guntown, and her escort is Andarius Blackburn. Tupelo campus freshman maid Jemiah Nashay Fields of Tupelo, and her escort is Matavius Young. Tupelo campus freshman maid is Blakely Lawler of Okolona, and her escort is Austin Bailey. Fulton campus sophomore maid is Georgia Kate Connor of Blue Mountain, and her escort is Haston McKissick. Fulton campus sophomore maid Jemiah Smith of Tupelo, and her escort Reggie Miller. Tupelo campus Kamara Hall of Saltillo, and her escort Con Osborne. Tupelo campus sophomore maid is Allie Sappington of Belden, and her escort Taylor McKnight. And the 2016 homecoming queen is Hallie Dobbs of Hamilton. Hallie is escorted today by Austin Bishop. And ladies and gentlemen, this is your 2016 homecoming court. You'll get to see them in all their splendor on the field in just a little while. Thank y'all so much.
And what a beautiful day it is here on our Fulton campus. We're so glad that you're with us, and we're so excited that we're able to recognize some very special individuals for our 2016 Alumnus of the Year and our Athletic Hall of Fame inductees. Today we honor 3 individuals who have achieved success and who have made very special contributions and a connection to ICC. First, our 2016 Alumnus of the Year, Mr. Robert Logan of Fulton. Next, with our Athletic Hall of Fame inductees, Mr. Brian Grissom, a Fulton native who currently lives in Eads, Tennessee. And last but not least, Mr. Max Munn of Tupelo, a native of Little Rock, Mississippi, not Arkansas. Each year is a very special responsibility of the Alumni Association's Board of Directors to select our Alumnus of the Year and Athletic Hall of Fame inductees. This process, first we receive nominations. Those nominations come from our alumni of the college, both JC and ICC, as well as full-time faculty and staff here at the college. Also, our ICC Alumni Association is growing daily. We've already gained over 200 new members over the last 3 months, so that's very exciting. And we have over 700 in our database of active lifetime members here at the college. Now, without further ado, let me have Ms. Monica Aldridge. She is our current Alumni Association president to bring a greeting on behalf of your Alumni Association.
On behalf of the ICC Alumni Association, welcome to Homecoming 2016. And we're not going to melt, we're not going to freeze like we did last year. It's going to be beautiful today. It is my privilege to share in this special celebration. We appreciate your presence today and your recommendation or reconnection with Itawamba Community College. It is a place which provided an exceptional start for all of us, as well as memories that we cherish for a lifetime, and now a place for our children and our grandchildren to have some of the same opportunities which we had. Although its face and the student faces have changed over the years, ICC continues to be a special place. Our Alumni Association made excellent choices this year. Congratulations to each of you. I encourage you to be a part of the Alumni Association if you aren't already. It is my pleasure to present President Mike Eaton, who will recognize several special guests who have joined us today to celebrate with our 2016 honorees.
Well, we've already told you good afternoon, but I'm going to do it again. Good afternoon. This is 2016, October 22nd, homecoming with blue skies, yellow butterflies, and fall in the air. It's going to be a great day. This is my 42nd homecoming here, and I have enjoyed every one of them, and every time that we have an opportunity to stop, pause, and recognize these individuals, it is a great thing. ICC continues to be one of the premier community colleges in the nation, and we're pleased that you're here with us today. We we stopped and honored and recognized several special guests that we have with us, and I'm always a little nervous with this, because when you start trying to identify all the board members that are out there, and you can see I've already lost my list. Hold on with me. Dr. Butch, I know you gave it to me. You're just going to have to wait. I'm going to get this right. There it is. Okay. Thank you. we can't take this too seriously. We're going to have fun here. Let me say this about homecoming and Dr. Bunch. All the things that happens around here just does not happen. Her staff, Tyler Camp, Jim Ingram, all the grounds and maintenance, they have worked extremely hard. Our campus is beautiful, and they waited till this morning to put a lot of the things out to make sure it was fresh and looked good for you. So thank you, Dr. Bunch, and your staff for a great job. Well done. We have some Board of Trustees here that I would like for you to stand and remain standing until I introduce all of them. Our infamous Mr. Carl Comer from Itawamba County, Thomas Griffith from Monroe County, Bud Weigel from Itawamba County, and Scott Cantrell from Monroe County. I believe Scott slipped in on us right there. Thank you. We also have one Foundation Board member, Mr. Don Baker, longtime board member, Mr. Baker. Thank you, from Monroe County. And we have alumni board members, Ms. Carrie McFerrin, Carrie, Bunky Goza, Robert Goza, of course, Monica Aldridge, Richard Davis, and Melba Applewhite. Thank you for being here. We also have President Emeritus, Dr. David C. Coe. Please stand up, Dr. Coe. Thank you for being here. And the First Lady of the college, my wife, Marcy. Thank you. There are two significant events in the annual cycle of the college. In institutions all across the nation, they're homecoming and graduation. And as you know, today is our homecoming. Our students have had numerous activities this week, which include cookouts, contests, and homecoming is a great time for reunions. Today, we're having a reunion for homecoming queens. And one of them was a homecoming queen in 1953. And she actually called in and wanted to know if we were going to bring her across the stand on a flatbed truck. And if there was going to be a parade. I'm telling you the truth, but it doesn't have to leave this room, okay? We also have a former ICC employees reunion, which is great to have them here. We have red, white, blue, and tailgate going on. We have a pep rally at 2:30. So you can see that the campus is filled with a lot of energy and excitement. But today, what we're doing is the induction of the Alumnus of the Year in the Athletic Hall of Fame. These are historic events because we take time to stop, to salute, and honor our inductees. Years ago, we had this ceremony down at the stadium, and basically we just walked them out there and give them a plaque. And after this building was built, under Dr. Cole's leadership, we had a more intimate setting, and this has proved to be very engaged, fun, a lot of laughter. Sometimes there's a few tears as we bring our honorees up. As you look around the walls of the Thomas C. Childs Hall of Excellence, you can see that these inductees' pictures will be placed on the wall, and they will be on permanent display and part of the college history in a most significant way. Each honoree's biography will be read, and then there will be reflections by his friends. Each inductee will be presented with a plaque and be given the opportunity to speak and introduce your family. At the conclusion, by the way, after I give you the plaque, I got to take it back because we got to give it to you again at the football field. So don't run off with it. That's right, Indian giver. At the conclusion, we will move to the football field, and there they will be introduced again on the football field prior to the game starting. Our honorees will need to be at the stadium at 3 o'clock so we can make our way to the field by 3:10. So please be under the awning at the back of the stadium at 3:10. We don't want to have to put an all-points bulletin out. At this time, it's my pleasure to recognize the Alumnus of the Year. It's my pleasure to recognize 2016 Alumnus of the Year, Mr. Robert Lowe, who is not only a graduate of the college, but one who has remained connected and who is described as a true friend and supporter of the college over the years. Mr. Loden has endowed 3 scholarships here. They are the Dana Grissom Cockrell Memorial Endowed Scholarship, the Marguerite Gurley Loden Memorial Scholarship, and the Robert Loden Scholarship. He is retired from Loden Butane, and in 1957, Mr. Loden earned the Associate of Arts degree from Itawamba Community College. His professional activities have included Transportation Committee for the Itawamba County Development Council, Secretary of the JCs, founding member of the Tom Bigby Trust and Trust Company, and a member of the Northeast Mississippi Gas Association. Since 1956, the year before he graduated from IJC, then Mr. Loden has been a member of the Big Oaks Church, Big Oaks Baptist Church, and he served as a Sunday school director and secretary and has been a deacon for more than 25 years. Mr. Loden served in the Mississippi National Guard for 6 years, the rank of sergeant. He and his wife, the former Margaret Gurley, who is deceased, has 2 children, Dr. Julian Dale Loden and Janice Gail Loden, member of the Itawamba County, now then the member of the Itawamba County faculty, former Pastor Doug Wilson. I will ask him to come and share reflections about Mr. Loden. Dr. Wilson.
I count it a great honor to stand before you this afternoon and share a little bit about this man that I have grown to appreciate and to know as a genuine person of integrity. I thought about what would be appropriate to say, and for many years when someone had died and I had been asked to come and give a eulogy or share some words of encouragement to the family, I like to take the name of that person and use a letter that represents a part of that name. So, Brother Robert, I think you can receive flowers and honor while you're yet still alive and not have to wait till you're deceased for good words to be said about you. And I truly can say some good words about this man because I count him as a dear friend, one who was there in times of need to share with me and my wife and family. And so this afternoon, I'd like to take Brother Robert's first name and one letter at a time and say a little bit about you, Brother Robert. The R stands for righteous, a man of faith. He loves to tell people that he loves the Lord, faithful to his church, faithful to his family, faithful to this community. He was faithful to his work, a righteous man. And I think that's an honorable thing to say about anybody, that they lived their life. He was an open book, and you could tell by the way he conducted himself. Ordinary. Now, by ordinary, I believe that we need to understand Brother Robert was not a flashy individual. Some of us know that he has an automobile that has almost 300,000 miles on it. Not flashy. Kind of like to have that one in my wheel, or in his wheel for me. No, I'm just teasing about that. But he's not a flashy person, never has been. On an average day, you might see Brother Robert dressed in a long sleeve denim blue shirt and blue jeans, ordinary. Not someone that, hey, look at me, look what I've done. But he always got the job done, an ordinary man. The letter B, benevolent. You've heard that he's established 3 endowments here at this college. This institution of higher learning has benefited in a tremendous way of his benevolence, but not just this institution, but his church, his community, his friends. Some of them have made their way here this afternoon. A business partner will testify of his benevolence. I've been a recipient of his benevolence, and I'm very thankful for him and his departed wife. He's also person that the E stands for. He's an encourager. Encourager. There have been many times that I have gone to his house. The door was open. Come on in, Pastor. And we'd go and we'd sit down and we'd talk. And we were very open with one another and sharing. And I appreciate the words of encouragement that he and his lovely wife would give to me. And still, when we would see one another, even though that I have since not been his pastor, but I still consider myself one that I can go to him and I can talk with him, and he would share with me, very open in our sharing with one another. And I appreciate the encouragement that you've given to me, and I hope that it will last for many, many more years. The second R in his name stands for radiance. He's a radiant person. You don't have to be around Brother Robert very long till you get a smile from him. And his smile is contagious. Now, I'm going to tell a joke that he told me. I didn't prepare to do this, but it just came to mind. Brother Robert is very dedicated when it comes to the Lord's Day. He didn't believe in working on the Lord's Day. Several weeks ago, we were at a restaurant together, and he started to leave, and he said, well, folks, I got to go home. I got to do a little mechanic work. And my wife looked at him and said, Brother Robert, you don't work on Sunday. He said, yes, I got to go home. I got to put a rear end in a lazy boy. See that smile? Now, he had the whole table smiling. Thank you that I get to use that joke. Radiant. He's that kind of thing. Don't have to be around him very long and you'll start laughing and chuckling. He's got a story to tell. And I'm sure he can tell a lot more than he is willing to share. But the last letter is T. And I think it's very important that we understand that a person of his caliber is truly trustworthy. For 54 years, he has been the treasurer of Big Oak Baptist Church. They've trusted him to make sure that every month he gives an accurate account of the monies received and the money spent. And let me tell you, I know for a fact that if there's one penny short, he's going to find it. And the next month he's going to report in the treasurer's report exactly where it was. It may have been something in the addition or subtraction, but he's trustworthy. Oh, my friend, a good name is rather to be had than much riches. Robert Loden, you are a good man. And you have a good name. And I'm thankful for being acquainted and a friend of yours. And God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson, and I would like to reiterate that too. Robert is such a quiet, unassuming man that has done wonders with his life, and we appreciate that. We're honored that you're our alumnus of the year. So I would like to present this to you. Itawamba Community College proudly honors Robert Loden, alumnus of the year 2016.
You know, President Eaton is just not too hard to follow him. But Brother Wilson, I don't know whether what that. But excuse me, naturally I got that frog. President Eaton, alumni board, committee, I want to thank you for this great honor that you have bestowed upon me. And it'll be something I'll cherish the rest of my life. But when I graduated here in 1957, I wouldn't believe in 1,000 years that this would ever happen. Because then he called me the night after the selection was made, and I was eating breakfast. So he shocked me so bad, said, I don't know where I finished it or not. It might be like I was the other night when I started bed. I sat down on the side of the bed and pulled one shoe off. Sat there a few minutes and then I thought, well, was I getting up or was I going? That's kind of like it. But when I did find out about this, I came down here, this room, and I looked at all the pictures of the individuals that had received the honor before. I looked at all the athletes in the Hall of Fame, and I looked at the president's pictures behind me. And I thought back to 1948, when the college began. I thought about Mr. Sheffield, Mr. Gordon Sheffield. And he saw the need for higher education in this area to make it more convenient, to make it economical. And he put forth all efforts to do that. And after the college was founded, we shared campus with the high school. I was in high school. We shared buildings. We shared instructors. But the college began. And I saw the need of getting an education to what I could get. You see, I worked my way through college. I worked 4 years at a chicken hatchery uptown, where the library is located now. And then my sophomore year here, on the 26th of December 1956, I went to work for my cousin and his wife, Mabel and Agnes Logan, first cousins. And I worked there for about 10 years. He started having heart attacks. He was a World War II veteran. He had a couple of heart attacks. They called me out to their house one day. Very few people call me Bob, and I really don't care for Bob. But he did, and he said, Bob, I want you to take this business, and I want you to operate it just like it was yours. When I get ready to give it up, I'm going to fix it where you can buy it. And I'll use the word again, buy it. I wish Brother would pay for it. But he did just what he said he would do. Then I'd been there 19 years. And then we took the business. For another 25 years, we operated it, offered the service to North Mississippi, Northeast Mississippi, I should say. And I'm real proud of it. But where did it all start? Right here at ICC. So I came down here and I looked at all of this, and then I walked out to the Walk of Members. And I looked at the brick that had been engraved. And I saw a lot of names I remembered. A lot of those bricks was engraved in there. Some of them in on. I got one out there that don't say nothing except right below. And that's all something. But, you know, I looked at that, and there's some park benches out there. By the way, they first told me I could have an hour, and then they told me I could have 5 minutes, but I can't wait 5 minutes. So there's a park bench out there. I sat down on that bench, and I began to have memories. I looked at, I hear this beautiful brick walk with all the landscaping on each side. They used to just free. It was really pretty damn. We didn't know it. But then I thought about my accounting instructor, Mr. G.W. Smith. I didn't know I was being prepared for a life of business. I didn't have any early out. But we started this accounting class freshman year. It was 42 of us. We graduated 5 in 1957. There were 1A, 3 B's, and 1 C. I didn't make an A, but I didn't make the C. So that went over really well. I got a base of what the real world might look like when I got out there. But that also reminds me, I got a grandson here today, and he's got a son. My grandson's name is Eric. My great-grandson's name is Zeke. Zeke brought his report card home the other day, and he handed it to Eric. Eric looked at it and said, "What is this here? 2 terrible grades? 3 bad grades? What's going on?" He said, "Well, I'm not really sure, Dad, but it's either hereditary or the environment." Then I thought about Mr. Bob Willie. Mr. Bob Willie, he taught economics. And he taught us about the law of diminishing returns. Then I thought about my friend Johnny Riley. He and I, we had some little businesses and investments together way back. We had some coin-operated car wash over at Dorsey. Always taking those quarters in like that. We got a little money on hand. Gee, what? Let's buy some bank stock. We paid upward $80, $90 for it. Money making. They've been going up like that. About 3 years later, we sold it for $20 a share. Then I'm not about diminishing returns. So life has been good to me. I was at church this past Sunday. I went into the fellowship hall to get a drink of water, and across the back was a big sign down there. And it had one word on it: blessed. You're looking at one of the best blessed individuals that's ever been here. But I have truly been blessed. Let's get back to that walkway out here. There's a street. Over on the west side, there's a curve coming up about like that. And then at the far end, where this walkway is now, was the horseshoe. And then behind that was the rec hall. Well, when I was a junior in high school down here, a pretty little girl came in as a freshman. And we courted from the curve to the horseshoe. And this went on for 2.5 years. By that time, I was in my freshman year here. So the love had really bitten both of us. We got married. We lived in an apartment right up the hill up here where Ms. Haynes lives, that has the beautiful magnolia every fall. We lived there almost 3 years with her. We had our bedroom upstairs and bath. We shared a kitchen with her. And she let us use the rest of the house, living there and down there like those special occasions. Real nice lady. Helped us a lot. I've had a lot of support. Blessed. We had a blessed marriage. Almost 56 years. She developed brain disease and died. Because she was very quick. So you see, I've had another blessed situation. Not everybody gets to live with their spouse for 56 years. Brother Wilson's already told you about my church work. I've been blessed there too. It helped a little old boy that was so timid that he wouldn't even go into a restaurant to eat because he didn't think they would look at him. Truly blessed. I got an ex-partner and his wife back there named Charles and Dorothy Leslie. They have a blessing. There's not a lot of people that can say that we were friends for 6 years. We was in business together for about 35 years. And we've still been friends from that point to now another 20 years. We have never had a crossword with each other. Didn't always agree, but never had a crossword. I cherish them as true friends, and I cherish them as you being blessed. And then there's my children. I'll tell you about my children. Out of Margaret and I's marriage, we have 2 children, a little more. Janice finished high school. She gave birth to 2 children after that. 12 years after she finished high school, she came back to ICC. 3 years later, she worked for an art and nursing degree. That's determination. And then we had a son. Now, he didn't choose to come to ICC, even though Carl Comer tried to get him to. By the way, Carl wanted to speak before I got up here, but he knew I was going to speak last. But he did go to the University of Mississippi. He did go on full scholarship. Then he went to the University Medical Center in Jackson on full scholarship. That made his parents happy. That made us very happy. He did. Then we had, Janice gave us 2 grandchildren, boy and a girl. The girl was running this real studious. She came to ICC, but she decided she'd go be somewhere else. So she got her a job over at Tupelo Pediatrics. She was preparing the babies for the doctor's examination. And my wife told her, she said, you better watch out for those little boys. Well, it wasn't very many weeks that she called. She said, Mom, I know what you're talking about now. I got sprayed today. So that's where she worked for a long time. And then there's grandson. Now, he loved ICC better than any rest of us. He was here 3 different times. First time, he didn't have a clue what he wanted to do. But he came. Then he worked for a while. Then he said, I want to go back to school. What you going to study? Forestry. I said, that's great. But you won't get a job in Midland County. Oh, yeah. I said, okay. He came down here. He got an associate degree in forestry. Real good. But he didn't get a good job in Midland County. He got him a sales job at Riley's Building Supply. Well, that wasn't going over very well, and he called me after a while. back to school. This is the third inning. I said, what you gonna study this time? He said, criminal justice. I said, go for it, you can get a job now. He's been with the Tupelo Police Department now for 10 years, and he has been an instructor at the Police Academy in Tupelo for, I believe it was 3 or 4 years he served there. And so I had myself, oh yeah, I left out sister. Sister came along a few years after I did, and she graduated ICC also. So I had me and sister, and keep in mind that none of our family had any college. None of our family. My daddy, he was born in the late 1800s. I come a long way from his life. He only had a 4th grade education. And they only went to school 4 months out of the year back in those years. But my daddy could read. And my daddy could do math. And my buddy spelled okay. Something I never did. But life's been good to me. I've been blessed. My wife passed away. Guess what? After a period of time, I was introduced to a wonderful woman. We share meals together, we go places together, and we keep everything on a Christian basis. I appreciate her very much also. She did a lot to me. I was talking a while ago about people retiring. Not over a year, 2 years, 3 months. I think there's a reason. You got to stay at. And I got one more little tale, and I quit. Oh, by the way, this brother died. And he lived a real good long life here on earth. A Christian life. And he went to heaven. And he got to heaven and the gate was locked. And there stood the Lord. He said, Lord, how did I get in? He said, well, all you got to do is spell love. He said, L-O-V-E. Come on in, brother, we're glad to have you. They stood around and talked a little bit, and the Lord says, I'm going to move on to another area. You stand here and man the gate. Now, when this guy was on earth, his wife always had a honey with this. And he never did do it right. So he hadn't been standing there long. She walked up to the gate. He said, what you doing here? She says, well, you died, and we went to the funeral. On the way home, we had a car accident. I got killed, and here I am. But how did I get in? He said, it's real simple. All you've got to do is spell Czechoslovakia. I got one more little thing to tell you. About 2 years ago, maybe last year, a young lady up in Induction received Margaret's scholarship. And she wrote a thank you note. See if I missed anything there. I won't read it all, but I'll read a little bit of it. Well, this encouraged me, and it made my heart feel better. Dear Margaret Loden family, I can't describe to you how much I appreciate your scholarship. In essence, what you said. It was such a relief to my family and to me. I'm studying to be a nurse practitioner. It's going to take a lot of schooling and a lot of experience. I'm a determined student, so I will achieve this goal. And she has some other things to say. And I was touched by it. And I think, well, I'll answer that young lady. I don't know the answer. Thank you. But I did. And I told her how thrilled my wife was living, how thrilled she would be to know that a person of her character receives her scholarship because she was a caring lady, she was a giving lady, one that wanted to help others. And we, the family, we always said she was born to serve. So I told her that, and I know it back to her. But then I gave her some encouraging words, I thought. Even Brother Wilson mentioned encouraging a while ago. I asked her to set her goals high. Study hard and sincere. Trust the Lord to guide her life. And when she had reached that goal, I said, "Oh, you know, I heard this story one time, and it may be true and it may not be true, but there was a fellow named Charlie Pride who get into the music business. I don't think things was working very well. This fellow named Ronnie Millsap said, "I'll hit it." So we all know that Charlie Pride made it big in the music. In later years, he said to Millsap, he said, "How can I ever repay you?" Millsap said, Pride said, "Just pass it on." Came to a program recently here. There was, if I recall correctly, there was 69 private scholarships this year. I mean, about $96,000. Someone gave that. And I bet if you could find Mr. Jim Ingram right here anywhere, he'd take anything you got to talk. Guess what? Someone's going to do it. I thank you very much. Thank you for the honor. Thank you for the recognition. I've been asked to introduce my family to y'all. So this time I'm going to ask them in order to stand and just remain standing. But I've introduced all of them. And my friends. I'd like to introduce a few friends. Got a lot of friends here, but these have really been close to me. I've got my daughter, Janice Lowe. I've got my son, she's in bed already. By the way, he practices medicine in Tupelo, and we could use the money. His wife, Elizabeth Lowe, she's a former student of ICC. Janice is a former student of ICC. Then I've got my grandson, Eric Russell. I told you he can. And then we got his wife, Jade Russell. And then we got the boys. There's Molly. There's Walker. There's Zeke. Zeke's ready. Then I got my special friend, Kathy Huddleston. And her friend from Nashville, Margaret Noah. I got Johnny Riley and Shirley. And then Charles Leslie and Dorothy's back there somewhere. And then I got all my big old friends. We appreciate all of y'all coming. And my other friends in the community, just thank everybody for coming and being with us today. I certainly. Sir, what? Yeah, I forgot, sister. We had, and her husband, Lindy, I don't know what he said, but Brenda and I, we raised each other. I mean, this is the truth. We raised each other growing up. Now, she's older than I am, but don't hold that against me. But we did, I was her big brother. I took care of her. My mother and daddy worked, and we stayed home, and we did everything. And we did this at a young age. And sis, I certainly didn't mean to forget you. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Logan, and again, we want to say how much the college appreciate you. You have made us proud, and thank you for your dedicated service. At this time, I would like to bring forth Coach Kay Ball Williamson, our athletic director, to bring greetings from the athletic department. She is absolutely the best athletic director in the United States.
Good afternoon for the third time. But as Dr. Cole would say, welcome to paradise. The ICC is a good place to be. It's a great day to be in ICC. And on behalf of the athletic department, welcome to homecoming and the 2016 induction of the Athletic Hall of Fame. We take pride in athletics at ICC, and we strive to represent you and the school in a positive manner. This past spring, we had 5 of our 10 athletic teams to take honors from the Mississippi Association of Community Junior Colleges. We were recognized as Academic Team of the Year. And what that means is 5 of our 10 teams had the highest GPAs, I would say, in the state of Mississippi. And we're really proud of that. We're extremely proud that our athletes are truly student athletes. And we want to make sure that that is the way that, I want to make sure that that is a fact, and I want to back it up, by saying that we won, and we're grateful that we did win. But we want to invite you to visit us often as we compete for championships, and we appreciate you coming today. And I want you to become involved with ICC Athletics, and we're glad to have you as part of our ICC family. And now, Dr. Buddy Collins, Vice President of Student Services, will present the 2016 inductees of the ICC Athletic Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Ball Williamson. Excuse me, Mr. Eaton was exactly right when he said that she is the best in the country at what she does. It is my honor and privilege today to introduce our Athletic Hall of Fame inductees for 2016. Our first honoree is Brian Grissom. Brian is a Fulton native, and he graduated in 1989 from Etowah Community College. While at the college, he was a dual sport athlete, playing both football and baseball. He was the starting quarterback for then head coach and now president of the college, Mike Eaton, as a freshman, and starting safety as a sophomore, as well as an outfielder for Coach Roy Crescent at the time. His honors include Best Defensive Back for the football team and Team Leadership Award for baseball. He earned his bachelor's degree from Birmingham Southern College, where he played for 2 years, and the master's degree from the University of Southern Mississippi. He is also a graduate of the American Bankers Association National School for Bank Security. Our inductee was previously appointed to serve on the Tennessee Bankers Association Bank Security Committee and was recognized by the Director of the United States Secret Service for superior contributions to law enforcement responsibilities of the U.S. Secret Service. His 23-year career in fraud investigations, security operations, and risk management includes his current position, Corporate Investigations Manager or Vice President for First Bank in Memphis, as well as related positions at Accredo Health Group, First Tennessee Bank, and Regions Bank. Giving back to the community, he has also coached junior league football, baseball, and girls softball, and is president of the Boosters Club and board member of the Football Booster Club at First Assembly Christian School. He's a member of the Independent Presbyterian Church of Memphis. He's married to the former Mary Margaret Comer, a doctor of pharmacy who's employed at St. Francis Hospital, and they are the parents of 2 children, Jack and Ava Caroline. Brian is the son of Fulton's Wayne and Genevieve Grissom, and the former ICC Hall of Fame, at this time, the former ICC Hall of Fame baseball coach, legendary baseball coach, Coach Roy Crescent, and former ICC head football coach, Coach Mike Eaton, will share some remarks. Coach Crescent.
I think if you're going to write a book about ideal student athletes that's come through our community college over the years, you want Brian Brisson's picture on the cover. He was a guy that played 2 sports here, and I can't tell you how difficult that is, and we'll elaborate on that maybe in a few more minutes. Because I watched Brian grow up. Just a night. And I remember when he was about a junior in high school, I went to one of the baseball games, and he caught my eye again because of his just natural athletic ability that he showed. A guy that really just looked good. And his high school coach at that time was Brian Long. And I remember I asked Brian after the game, I said, tell me about Brian Grissom. And he said, well, he's a great kid, but he said, he is a 4-2 guy in baseball. And I thought, well, that's great. And we talked a few more minutes, and I started to leave, and he said, and by the way, he can read and write. Now, all of that was baseball coach talk for a guy that can hit for above average, play really good defense, has an exceptionally strong arm, and can really run. And that last part means that when he gets off the field, you don't have to worry about him until the next day, because he's going to take care of business in the classroom, off the field. And that's exactly what Brian did. Pulled between 2 sets of coaches. And I can't tell you how hard that is, to come in and play football in the fall at junior college level. And every time you get out of practice, run to the baseball field to throw a little bit, or a chance to hit a little bit. Then in the spring, you're out there with baseball every day, and every opportunity you get, you run to the football field, try to do something there. And then the real hard part, I think, comes in the off season. We got some of these old football coaches know what I'm talking about. Coaches want you involved in their program all year long. And so you're pulled between 2 groups, back and forth, and he just did it exceptionally well. Baseball-wise, he was a leader on our baseball field for, I think, several reasons, but one was because of the respect that those other players had for him, being able to juggle all the things that were involved in being a 2-sport athlete. Led our team at hitting. 455, played an all-star game, just an exceptional baseball player. After he got through here, and Dr. Collins mentioned he signed with Birmingham Southern. Birmingham Southern at that time was the best NAIA baseball program in the nation. They also want you to be able to read and write. I'm telling you, they take it serious over
you know that. Very high academic standards at Birmingham Southern. And he moved in there just like he did here and did a great job with it. I think, Carl, the bottom line on Brian Grissom is that when he was a freshman and sophomore here, I looked at him and said, you know, this is the kind of kid, if I had a daughter, I wouldn't mind her marrying him someday. And that's about as good as it gets. Brian, congratulations. Very deserving. And thank you for allowing me to be a small part of it. Thank you.
Secret Service. Did you ever do anything on Hillary? Tell the truth, man. Raise your right hand. Brian Grissom played football for me in 1987 and 1988. And this is like family with Brian here because I've been associated with the Grissom family. His brother Jerry played for me in 1977. And then later, then Brian became even more connected when he married Mary Margaret. And of course, Carl and Nan that we've been friends with a long time, and Karen. And so it's just kind of all in the family with that. When you're coaching 18 and 19-year-old young men, some of them need more direction than others. Some of them you just worry about coaching on the field and not off the field. Some of them you have to coach in both places because they need some adjustments and a little direction there. Brian was a guy that all he needed was on the field coaching. As I indicated earlier, we really recruited Brian in football as a defensive back, but he was a backup quarterback. And so in 1987, we go down to Southwest, I believe, to open up the season, and I had my starting quarterback. And 2 hours before the game, we were informed that the starting quarterback was ineligible. Now, Brian didn't know anything about this. And so I said, come here, I need to talk to you. And so I told him that our quarterback had been declared ineligible, and Brian's eyes was about as big as $10. Now, he always was a little nervous, but he was really nervous that night. But, Brian quarterbacked us for the rest of the season. We did not win that game that night, but he played well. The thing that I appreciated so much about Brian, he's thrown into a situation that he was not expecting to be in, and he did not complain. He jumped in there and did the very, very best he could do, and has been, like I said, quarterback for the rest of the season right there. And Roy's already indicated this, attitude's everything, and he's a can-do guy. He's a respectful guy. You never had to worry about him in the classroom. You never had to worry about anything of that nature because Brian was going to be there. He was going to be on time. He was going to do what you asked him to do. And believe me, if you had a football team made up of guys like Brian Grissom, you're going to have a good football team. And because they're going to do what they're asked to do, they're going to play hard, and they're going to be exceptional. So Brian, I can remember that day I said, come here. You were nervous, wasn't you?
Yes, sir.
I didn't blame you. I was worried about your health right there. But you have done a remarkable job for us. We're so very proud of you. I think you continue to set the standards of what you did here at ICC for future athletes. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Ryan, if you would come up on behalf of Bedouin Community College and Bedouin Community College family, it's my pleasure to present you with this plaque that you're going to have to give back. Athletic Hall of Fame, Brian Grissom, 2016.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Told Mary Bert I wouldn't do that. I cannot control that. I've told people before that I only cried a few things, and that's when babies are born, when war movies are on, and when somebody wins a championship at anything. I'm pretty much bald. I don't know why that is, but it overcomes me. I am very humble, very honored to be here today. It means the world to me. One of the things I want to mention is how much ICC has meant to me. This is my father. This is my mom and dad, Wayne and Genevieve Grissom. My dad and I, back when I was 9 through about 13, we worked on the chain gang together. I was just a boy, and I loved it. And one of the things that I had the opportunity to do is because they were all too old, I was the one that put the clip on the chain. You had to bend down the whole time. Everybody, all the older guys were smart enough to figure out that's not a job for anybody that's got any brains. So that's what they put and we had a ball doing that. One night, Coach, we were playing. This was when Jerry was playing. They were playing Coahoma, and I loved sitting on the sidelines over there because I could hear everything that the other team's coaches were talking about, and every strategy they had and everything, and the plays that were being called. And I was like, I think I was maybe 11 at that time, and I figured out all of Coahoma's offense. It was the same offense we ran in junior high. And I told my dad, I said, I know every play they're running. And I said, do you think I ought to go tell Coach E? He said, no, son. I think Coach Eaton's got it figured out. You're playing Coahoma. It was one of those moments that, from that point in time, this junior college has been ingrained in my heart. It's one that I look at my teammates that are here today. I love the fact of being on a team. It means, I'm going to stop doing this at some point. It means the world to me to participate on a team because it is something that you can't just be flying solo and be successful. You have to be an encourager. The one of the things that I've listened through everything that Mr. Logan said, and I respect him so much. He identified the quality of every teammate that you want and the teammate that you want to be, and that's sort of been our goals. Our goals. I look at my friends and my teammates and some of my coworkers and friends that are here today, and I go, these are my teammates in life, and they mean so much to me. I love them so dearly, and you will battle for them. You battle for your kids, you battle for your spouse, you battle for your family, but you also battle for those teammates that are interconnected in your life, and that means so much to me. But one of the things I wanted to, playing behind or between the walls at Etowama, we did it, having grown up in Fulton, I did it my whole life, and I love that place. It was such an environment. I mean, you hear the bands playing, and it's bouncing off the walls, and if you throw a bad pass and run somebody into the back of that end zone, you're going to get them killed. So, except we could figure that out. We had the advantage in that place because we knew, all right, you don't throw in that back corner. You don't run a fade route back there. And, and we always knew that was part of our defense, is that corner being cut off and it being a wall. You didn't have to cover that part of the field. But it was with the friends that I made here, Graham, Scott Cantrell, Jeff Clay,
Rick Collier, your head baseball coach. Now, a lot of my roommates throughout this time frame, those were the probably one of the most enjoyable times of my life. I had friends that were characters, literally characters, just fun, but they have, and they still have character, and they mean the world to me. I did want to thank my mom and dad. They've been an example. I've learned, the work ethic that's needed by following their example. I've learned that you show up. You show up. When it's your time to work, you show up. And their servant's heart. They have a servant's heart, and that has been a great example for me. I also want to thank a couple of my coaches from younger years. Is Coach Jerry Strickland. I don't think Coach Strickland's here today, but he's the one that made football fun. He made it to where it was our group of boys fell in love with football when we got to play with Coach Strickland. And and he taught me one of the things that I hope to be able to give to kids that we've coached is going, when good things happen, you give the credit to others. You give the credit. You don't take that credit. If you're part of the team, you're part of being a quarterback. I think one time I got one of our offensive linemen missed a block, and I said something to him that probably wasn't real pleasant. And I think as I was trying to figure out which line to walk to, because I've been halfway knocked out, and I'm like, and he goes, he said that your team, you give your team your credit. Quarterback doesn't take credit, and he taught me those things, and that meant a lot, and I think that carries on even outside of football. Brian Long taught me one thing, taught me something really significant early on, was to listen. I think God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, and you're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk. And he, except I may not be doing that as much today. But he taught me to listen. He gave me an opportunity to sit on the bench one time when I missed a call that he told us about me, and I had it was take to get a strike, coach, and I went up to the plate and swung at it and hit it and drove in 2 runs. We ended up winning the ball game. And he took me out of the ball game after that because I didn't listen to him, and I was really displeased. And I was like, "What did I do?" I was like, "I didn't hear you." And I think that's when I learned that as an adult, as a kid, I was really frustrated because I was like, I want to be in the ball game. I mean, you're a competitor, you got that competitive fire, you're going to battle out there, and he's taking you out of the ball game. And but as I grew up a little bit, I realized that he was setting an example of going, you bench me, you teach the whole kid, the whole team, you listen, you pay attention. And he did what was right. And at that point, I didn't think it was right, but he was. And one of the things is we've had to do that with some of the teams we've coached throughout the years, is we've ended up doing that same thing and go, all right, well, you bench whoever's on your team that you need to bench to help teach the lesson. And it has been one of the things that Coach Cressip has taught me that is pretty similar. And I want to tell you how really blessed I am and the junior college has been to have the quality of coaches that we've had throughout this junior college. I mean, it's incredible to me. And I'll go on a little bit more about that in just a minute. But with Coach Cressip, Coach Cressip taught me to and everybody I still have struggles with things like this today, but it's, I want to carry myself in class. I want to act like I've been there before. I want to act like act like you've got some sense type of things. And at one point in time in the game I acted like I didn't have any sense. And we were playing at Delta, and it was a tight ball game. We were fighting. We get into the playoffs, down there, and you know, we were fighting to get into the playoffs, and I didn't have many home runs, wasn't much of a power hitter, and you know, I was in a little bit of a hitting streak, so I was had some pretty good luck going on. And their catcher, as I'm walking up, says, "So you want to hit, huh, boy?" And I went, "Yeah, I want to hit. Throw it in here." And then the pitcher looked at me and he pointed at me, and I'm like, so I stepped in the box. I hit the one home run I've ever hit that whole year, and I was excited because we were in the heat of the battle, and I was rounding first base, got around second base, and started cranking the chainsaw, man. It was like, you know how you see you're excited, you're like, yeah. And then around third, looking towards third, and Coach Crescent's looking at me like, have you lost your ever-loving mind? And I think he stuck his hand down as he went by, and it was one of those, as I ran by, and it was one of those extra firm handshakes, like, don't be an idiot. It was one of those coaching opportunities, and and I'd never hadn't hit a home run the whole year. So it was like this, but I still didn't have good sense because before I crossed the plate, the pitcher was looking at me because it was a battle, and I pointed back at the pitcher, and that was going, okay, that was where it should have stopped. And after the ball game, Coach Crescent reminded me real quick. He said, I want to congratulate Brian on coming through with that big hit until he made a complete horse's tail rounding of himself around the bases. And I was like, then I felt bad about it. I felt horrible about it after that. But I was really letting the passion of the game get out of control a little bit. The next coach, Coach Eaton, and I know as being president of the college, I think of him as Coach Eaton. He will always be my coach. He has been one that challenged me. We had such a love for Coach Eaton, and we battled on the field every night. And one of the things I would say, one of the main things I learned from Coach Eaton is to bring energy. And I use this with our kids that we coach nowadays, and it's to bring energy to what you do. To first of all have fun, to enjoy it. And if you're going to show up, just like with work, you show up, have energy. Go to work with a little passion in your heart. Go do things in life. And I try to every day when I wake up. I want to go. All right, what can we do? Let's be excited about where we are. God's blessed us. God's provided for us in so many ways. Let's enjoy the day. And so I really want to thank you for teaching me that. One of the things Coach Eaton did too, also, is always try to keep an eye on him as I was walking across campus. Because I was always, I try my best not to be late for things, for meetings and everything, but I usually never get there early. So it's pretty much right, I'm hitting it on the nose most of the time, and I always would be on the lookout for Coach Eaton, because as I was walking across campus, and one day, fortunately, I was going to lunch, which was like my favorite portion of the day, and I did enjoy class, but you're hungry, and it's time to eat as an athlete here, and you're ready to. That's an important part of your day, and but Coach Eaton stopped me and said, he said, "Hey, Grissom." I said, "Yes, sir." I went over there and talked to him. He said, "Don't be COMMON." And I looked at him and I was like, I really wasn't that smart. And I was going, all right, let me read, COMMON. Oh, don't be common. And that was where I was like, okay, Coach, I wasn't planning on it. But as I'm walking away, I start thinking, and Coach Eaton had a knack of planting things in your head that would make you think. And I went to school, my undergrad was in psychology, and Coach Eaton used that to motivate people as well as anybody I've ever seen. and he would plant a seed in your head that made you wonder, what is he trying to get out of it? And he's done that with my older brother too, with Jerry. And you hear these stories about how he's used that to motivate people, and it's one where it carries with you those things, and I'm so very thankful for those lessons. The other thing I wanted to mention is the coaches. We had Coach Gaddy, Coach Jones, Coach Johnson. Coach Johnson was one I never will forget. Coach Johnson was, I know we've talked about him. Yeah, Coach Johnson. He had I can still remember his pregame speech, and it was always, men, it's going to be another tough Saturday of junior college football. Let's go bloody some noses. And he goes, and he'd say, and this is the part that got me, would be, we may get our noses bloody, but we're going to bloody theirs too. And it was one of those things, as you hear those things, and I can remember like it was yesterday. And the thing that impressed me the most is how smart, how intelligent these coaches are. These are not situations where you're dealing with, as in the world of academics, you're looking for a level of to build intelligence, and you're finding people with coaches that are intelligent, smart people. I mean, these guys are folks that have it going on that can succeed in anything. Sometimes we want to make sure that our kids are being led by people. The people that are here at this college are extremely focused on trying to build leadership in kids and make people successful. And I'm very thankful for everything that you have done for me and the mission that you have. Our team, one of the things I wanted to mention is my brother Mark's here. Jerry's not able to be here today, but I've got other brothers here. The teammates that are here, the teammates that are in my life that I've coached with now, one of them, Jeff Fight, John Shear, some of my friends are here today, and I'm very thankful that y'all can make it. It means a great deal to me. And one of the things that, as far as being able to coach, our son Jack and Ayla, we've tried to coach those teams, and it's so much fun working with kids and trying to develop them and trying to teach those skills, and using sports as a platform to not only to help build character with children, but also with building a relationship with God. One of the things that really touches my heart as far as trying to make sure that we get our kids to understand that, and young boys and that we coach, is that you always run the play on God's snap count. And people wonder, all right, what does that mean? And we're like, you run the play on God's snap count. It's like our job is simply to execute the play. It's focused on, you can't, although in life we try to control everything, we try to control the outcome of everything that we do, and we have goals and we want to get here, our hearts are broken when we don't reach our goals. But when it boils down to it, maybe God didn't intend for us to reach that particular goal. And it's one where I think when we understand that we run the play on God's snap count, is that He directs our lives. We do not control that. God controls that, and we need to let Him. He's given us the opportunity. Let's thank Him for that. In closing, real quick, I wanted to just let everyone coach here. Thank you for this honor. Thank y'all as the Hall of Fame members that are here. I'm not deserving of this honor. I understand that, but I am very much appreciative of the people and the coaches that are up there. I will do my very best to continue to try to carry on that tradition as best that I can. Thank you. I want to take a moment real quick to introduce my wife, is Mary Margaret, if you can stand, please. And then Jack is my 17-year-old son, David Caroline, 13-year-old daughter, and this is my mom and dad, Wayne and Genevieve Grissom. And today, my brother Mark is here as well. Of course, Carl and Nan and Karen. And one of the things I want to make sure everybody understands too, one of the first things Carl told me after we got married is you understand that you're only in this family as part of a 3-2 vote.
Thank you, Brian, and congratulations. Our second honoree for the 2016 class of inductees is Max Munn. Coach Munn began his career with IJC in 1974, coached the Lady Indians basketball team from 1979 to 1993, and assisted head coach Linda Partlow with the Lady Indian softball team for 3 years. That's what you call multitasking, correct? In his 14 years in coaching, he guided the Lady Indians to 8 different championships. At the pre-Thanksgiving tournament at the Pearl River Classic Championship, 2 Gadsden, Alabama Classic Championships, and the 1989 Pensacola Classic Championship. He was a 3-sport letterman at Beulah Hubbard High School. And after graduating, he continued his basketball and baseball career at East Central Junior College. He earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Southern Mississippi and the master's degree from Mississippi State University. His positions while at ICC, or IJC / ICC, included Director of Student Services at the Tupelo campus and Director of Student Affairs, and counselor at the Tupelo campus. He retired in 2003. Previously, he was a physical education teacher, coach, and counselor for the Tupelo schools. He currently is an insurance agent with Hughes Agency in Fulton, and in 2011, he founded and currently serves as chair of Helping Hands, Helping Homeless, Incorporated. He and his wife, Terry, have 1 daughter, Lindsay Schaefer, son-in-law Daniel, and 3 grandchildren, Cruz, Sterling, and Mercedes. We're fortunate to have former ICC Director of Admissions and Dean of Students and current member of the Board of Trustees, Mr. Carl Comer, and a former Lady Indian, Kay Hilliard, here, who will share some remarks at this time. Mr. Comer.
More than 2 homecomings, and you liked all of them? I remember Gulf Coast one time you didn't like too well, did you? I guess you can say what you want to. Robert Lowe. Robert, well, Howard Young and Wayne Riley and I owned a cabin over in Lee County called over the Wilhelmina Lake. And we would cook fish and play cards and things over there. And Price Prestige owned Fulton Butane. And Price would say, well, come on by and fill up the propane tank with us. Well, one day, we started over there, and the back of Howard's car was the old propane tank that didn't have any propane in it. We forgot to go by and get our things. And he said, pull in here at Robert Lowe's, and let's just fill up. And Wayne Riley said, let me handle this. So we took the tank in there and filled it up, and Wayne said, now, Robert, so we've been getting this from Price. Oh, he said, if Price can send it to you, whatever he can send it to you for, I can send it to you. Wayne said, thank you. Well, when we got back home, he had called everybody but the sheriff. Stealing propane. Max, appreciate you getting a haircut for the
hard to die. In 1979-80 school year, Billy Todd was the head coach of the girls' basketball team. And as most of you know, his wife Edna was fighting cancer real hard, real bad. And Billy requested to be removed as head football coach where he could spend more time with Edna. And so there we were. And school had already started, and so here we are. How are we going to find somebody to coach high school, the junior college basketball team? W.E. Boggs said, well, said old Max Munn played down at East Central, said, why don't we check with Max? So we go over and talk to Max, and Max agreed to be an interim coach for that year. 14 years later, he was still an interim coach. But Max did a lot of good jobs for us. But Max, I don't know, what's all this? What does that mean? You never sat down. 14 years you never sat down. He stood up all during the game, didn't you, Max? Will you explain all that?
Is that chalkboard?
That'd be okay.
Defensive call.
Defensive call. Okay, okay, well. Yeah. You get a chalkboard. Max also did not only coach basketball here, but he was the director of student services in Tupelo campus. And a job opening came over here, so he came over to the guidance department over here and worked as in the guidance department and a recruiter also for a long time, along with his basketball. I went into his office one day after I got over here from Tupelo, and I said, Max, it seems to me that we need somebody in the office all the time, you know, going to lunch and so forth. You know, we don't need to the kids will come in. We need somebody to be in the office all the time. How about going to lunch at 11 o'clock? That suited Max. 20-something years later, when he retired, he called me and he said, can I go to lunch at 12 o'clock? Max, it's an honor to work with you, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm the former K Ball, and I attended school at North Montauk Attendance Center in Ekron. And my coach had told me, Coach Zane Hill had told me that I was going to have a visitor to come and talk with me about coming over to ICC. I was like, okay, cool. And we're out on break, having our snack, and I look up and see this man walking with some linen pants on. He had a white shirt on, he had his glasses, and he was just dapping. I'm like, he got swag, who was that? Needless to say, it was Max Munn. We talked for a while, and I ended up coming to IJC. But before then, before that summer, before I came to IJC, I got the opportunity to play on his AAU team. And we were really good. So he took us all the way to Fairfax, Virginia. We ended up in the semifinals, and I got hurt. And when I got hurt, I got hurt. Next thing I know, I'm on the floor hollering, and I look up, and Max Munn is standing right there. The whole time, he was with me from the emergency room until the time they sent my elbow, until the time we got back home. And the lady and gentleman that had the really good van, I got to ride home with them that day. But I still ended up coming to IJC and playing basketball. And also, I got to play softball for Coach Bartlow. I enjoyed that also. But Coach Munn was a coach that was always, like you said, up on the sideline, and I didn't know what none of that meant either. I didn't have a clue between that and right here and going up. But I like to say that in the process of getting to know him as a coach and as a friend, I'd never been on the water. You know, black people don't go on the water because we can't swim. But I took my first boat ride out at his house, at him and Cherry's house, on a boat. Can't swim, but I went. I had a ball. And from then on, it seemed like our relationship was just like that of understanding, able to communicate. I grew up fatherless, but I always had Max Munn. And I'm just saying Max because I respect him as coach. also, but I like the name Max Munn because he was different from every other coach. And he had his own way of doing things. And I'd like to say to you that if it hadn't been for you recruiting me, I would not have been able to come to IJC on a scholarship. But needless to say, after that, I did attend 2 locales back in '08. And Mr. Logan, as your grandson did, I'm planning on coming back to IJC to finish my degree in social work and sociology. And I appreciate all of you for listening, and thank you for the invite. And many blessings to all of you, especially Coach Ron.
And Ms. Hilliard also serves as a JUCO basketball referee. So she gets to respond to a lot of the things. Coach Martin, if you would. On behalf of Etowah Community College and Etowah Community College families, congratulations for being inducted into the 2016 class of Athletic Hall. Thank you very much.
Kay Ball hadn't dislocated her elbow. We may have won that championship that year. She got hurt in the semifinals against Ohio, I think, and part of her arm was running this way, another part was running this way. So it was, she had quite an injury. And what she was saying to me on the floor, she says, "I will be ready to play tonight." 3 sports at Beulah Hubbard High School, huh? We only had 2. We had 3. I didn't play football. At the end of my senior year, basketball coach came to us and says, we played in a conference thing called Sounddale Conference, West Lauderdale, Northeast Lauderdale, etc. He said, we're going to have a Sounddale track conference meet in Meridian High School at Ray Stadium. Who wants to go? What you want to? You do this, you do this. I ran hurdles. I'd never seen a hurdle. Beulah Hubbard High School. Yeah, Little Rock, Mississippi. Even though at Southern, my senior year, it says Little Rock, Arkansas, I went back home. My parents assured me we lived in Mississippi. So we go to Meridian Ray Stadium, I ran the high hurdles, low hurdles. I don't think I'd ever run through a cornfield. Well, when the high hurdles ended, there was an announcement thereafter, soon, that with a Beulah Hubbard entry, please return to the starting gates. Well, no one kept a clock on me. So I had to run it again by myself. And it felt like it took about 12 minutes to do those 120-yard hurdles. I got finished 3rd and never seen a hurdle. I thought that was pretty good. Worked here 29 wonderful years. I've been gone 13 years and 4 months. That's what, about 42 years, and I get a private parking place. Rest of the day, 15 minutes. I have to admit, I saw Kay officiate one night. She's pretty doggone good official, too. Pretty good. And I know Kay said, she said, pretty good. I said, yeah, pretty good. When I got the call from Buddy Collins, I have to admit that I was pretty well shocked and speechless. Very rarely am I speechless, but I was then overwhelmed and very, very much appreciative. What an honor to be recognized, to be on this wall. Certainly many more people out there more deserving from me, but thank you very much, and I'll take it. I'd like to, at this point, recognize my family that's here. My sister-in-law, Glenda Yarber, and her friend, Ellis Crow. My favorite mother-in-law, Edna Robinson. I always say that. My daughter, Lindsay. And there's Sterling and Mercedes, grandkids, Cruz. My son-in-law, Daniel. I believe Daniel's on one of our I still say our after 13 years, I still say our. He's on one of ICC's recruiting brochures, or he has been or will be. And my young bride of 31 years, Terry. Mr. Boggs here, Mr. W. Boggs, I haven't seen him. He did say a couple of years to coach, and I did in 14 years. I see, in addition to Kay, I see Dana Hale. Any other former players in here? We've got some special friends I'd like to recognize at this point. Ruth and James Kelly. James and I, we go to festivals. We go to Highland Games. About 4 or 5 years ago, I figured out that my heritage was Scottish. Anybody got a heritage of Scottish in here? Nobody? Oh, here you go. Also, anybody got any heritage of Irish in here? Anybody got any heritage of Scottish Irish? You know, they want to drink a lot and don't want to pay for it. So Mr. Boggs had a couple of years, so I guess after 14 years, there was a couple of years. I had some players from the Bahamas at once upon a time. And if you had a player from North Pontotoc, if they went off for the summer, they might bring you back a T-shirt, you know, from another country or wherever. Well, Ann Bullard from the Bahamas, she played on the national team and played in Guyana and over the summer. And when she came back, she brought me 2 fifths of rum. That was her custom. I graciously accepted it and graciously took it to Mr. Comer. I said, how many vacation days do I have left? He says, how many do you need? I said, 3. He said, you got it. Karen McPherson and I worked together for many years. I'm not sure if I see anybody else. We'll talk about Coach Newsom in a minute. I do work as an insurance agent part-time, been doing that for many years. I work for Howard Hughes and Frank Hartley. Howard Glenn Hughes and his young bride Jan. Mike Deaton, Jamie Hart and Patricia Phillips, and Bill. Patricia is the secretary treasurer of Helping Hands, Helping Homeless, which, by the way, we've assisted more than 600 people in getting off the streets or either keep them going to the streets since March 2011. I want to thank all the basketball players for the 14 years along with the 3 years of softball from the bottom of my heart for choosing to come to IJC/ICC to play for me. It was an honor to have each of you. One of my continued goals for players was to be very successful academically and athletically while we're here and to further their education. I instilled in them very strongly that you will not make a living playing basketball. And there wasn't even a WNBA then, but it didn't matter that they were not going to make their living playing basketball. One number I want to throw out, that I had 39 players to sign and play senior college basketball, so that was very important for us. We also had 25 made All-State, 14 played in the JUCO All-Star game. I want to thank the players' parents for trusting ICC with their young ladies. It's a little bit different when you've got your young lady coming off to go to college versus a young man. I found that out. And thank you for parents for trusting me for those years. I do hope that their experiences were meaningful. I want to thank many fans, and I can see most of them where they sat in the stadium, especially Mr. Charles Riley. You know, our bench was right here, he sat right here. We could be ahead 50-0, and I'd go to the dressing room, I'd look up, he'd be shaking his head. So I got to where I'd go to the dressing room, I'd kind of go like this. I like to recognize my good friend, Coach Wayne Newsom. You know, not every men's and women's basketball coach get along, but we did. We were not only co-coaching, we were very, very good friends. He would do anything for me and likewise for me. Once upon a time I was sick and he had to handle practice. He's a very good coach. At that time I had to wrap a player's knee every day, tape it rather. And he taped it, but about 30 minutes into practice the tape fell off. So he's a good coach, good friend, can't take worth a darn. Talked about softball. My players came to me after a couple of years and said, "We need something to do in the spring, Coach." I said, "What about studying?" "No, something else." So I talked to Mr. Comer about starting women's softball, slow pitch. Shouldn't be a lot of expense. We can use our basketball tops, etc. And we got that started. Then I conned Partlow into Linda Partlow. Everybody knew her as Partlow, right? And I conned her into being the co-head coach. And man, coaching with Partlow for 3 years was a trip in itself. I sure miss her. Thanks to the ICC administration for allowing me these 14 years, actually 17 seasons to coach. Also, thank you for keeping me around here for 29 years. That was, and it's still, my heart's here, and I still say we, and I still get questions out in the community, and I refer them, tell them what little I know after 13 years, and but my go-to guy, Larry Boggs, is retired, so I've got to find me a new go-to guy to refer people to. In closing, I'd like to share with you. When I left each morning, when I got up, I was ready to eat lunch at 11 o'clock. I don't eat breakfast, so I was hungry by 11. So I'd stop along the way and get me a cup of coffee. It was 35 cents. When it got to be 85 cents, I bought a coffee pot. But on this sign that's on this wall, it's BP on Auburn Road, which is now Chevron, I think. And it says that people will probably never, ever remember what you said to them or what you did to them. But they'll always remember how you made them feel. And I hope my years here, my 29 years, people will remember how I made them feel. I posted this on my wall in my office, and I've tried to live up to it even today. And I hope I have. Thank you very much, and may God bless you, and may God bless this nation. Thank you.
Well, it has certainly been an enjoyable afternoon. I think you can understand why these three individuals have been selected to be alumnus of the year and Athletic Hall of Fame, because certainly it means so much to us. And when you hear the emotions and what the college has meant to them and their experience and how much you have meant to us, it is very, very rewarding. So thank you so much for that. Now then, according to my watch, we got to be on the field at 3:10. Now, we will get your plaques down there. Don't y'all be late on me now. You are? I'm going to give it to somebody else, okay? I want to thank y'all for being here. It has been a great day in the life of Bitterwama Community College, and we will do the pregame on the field at 3:10. Yes. Oh, and if any of you need any tickets, Dr. Collins got some, Dr. Bunch got some, so they will be free of charge. Thank you for being here.